Well, I get out of the dark here. And, welcome everybody to the Tustin-SantaAna Rotary. Got to turn around. There we go. Welcome everybody to the Tustin-SantaAna Rotary, and I'd particularly like to welcome Becky Firey from the. Is it? What? How do you pronounce your last name?
Firey.
Say again.
Firey.
Firey. Becky Firey from the Red Cross, who's going to be our speaker today. Do we have any other guests? I don't think so. Enos MacBook Pro, that might be a guest, but you never know. Anyway, welcome everybody. As I said earlier, this is President Fred, actually President Darth Vader, speaking to you from the Batcave, where we don't much like light. But today I will be President Fred, speaking in sort of light. Anyway, I wanted to show you the our President's Rotary flag, which I would have exhibited at all of our meetings. Holger Knacht is from Norway, I think. Very interesting guy. Anyway, so let's start out with the Pledge of Allegiance, which I have a flag, which I will exhibit now. There we go. Okay, so you can stand. We get in the center here. Okay, I'll start it out. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now, so that we can all read this together, I will hone in on the four-way test, which I have affixed to my wall in the office so I can remind myself daily of it. The Rotary test of the four-way things, of the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. Number one.
Is it the truth?
The truth.
Number two.
Is it fair to all
Fair
concerned?
to all concerned. Number three.
Will it be
Will it
beneficial
build
to all
goodwill and better friendships? Number four. Will it be beneficial to all concerned? The last two are, I get those things screwed up too. That's why I like to read it.
Number 5, will Fred Anderson mess it up?
Yes. And if he doesn't, will somebody else? All right. Well, as I mention every time during this time, that I wish more people would follow the four-way test, particularly our politicians. But I suppose that's too much to hope for. But in any event, it's something we need to concentrate on. Okay, I've introduced all the guests. We don't have any more guests that I can see. Does anybody have any announcements? I don't see Lori. Oh, okay, Helen.
I have a Rotary moment.
Oh, share it with us, please.
Dick and I met a gentleman in Guatemala. His name is Pat Force, and he's in Salem, Oregon. He joined Rotary because he was the new president of the credit union, and it was a way to meet other people. And it was his first year he came to Guatemala. And I got a note from him last week. They're supporting the Guatemala project. And I bring this up because it is certainly an act of service beyond self. When they're in the middle of the fires, their club has voted to work on an international project.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that, Helen. Does anybody else have any announcements? James.
Yeah, so this week for the Show Some Love, Tustin is Rock and Brews. So some of you probably have been there, relatively new to the neighborhood, but they're on Irvine Boulevard. Really cool aesthetic. They got a lot of cool like rock and roll music memorabilia in the restaurant, and they're doing a free entree with a free appetizer with purchase of entree this week. So they got a lot of really good options for food. They've got the whole spectrum from burgers and things all the way to salads and stuff. And the appetizers look really good too. So I'll be going on Saturday, but you guys should check it out.
Well, thanks, James. And the Andersons myself and Dick and Helen remember when rock and roll was an evil thing and they were trying to suppress it. The parents thought it was awful. And here it is, what, 20, 30 years later, and it's still going strong. Okay, thanks. Anybody else have any announcements?
Yeah, Fred, I've got one announcement.
Okay, thank you, Gary.
On the 24th at 5 p.m., in case you haven't got the notification from the district yet, on the 24th at 5 p.m., there's a live, a Facebook Live and YouTube Live broadcast, I guess you call it, from the Rotary District 50 through 20 for the club awards for last year. So those are for the last Rotary year. So those will be hosted by Mark Aarons at the district office, and it'll be you'll be able to see it anytime after that, of course. But every club in the district is mentioned, and almost all the immediate past presidents are mentioned in that.
Well, great. All right. I see that Lori has joined in the name of Jonathan, and Lane's joined. Lane, welcome. Glad to have you here.
Glad to be.
And Lori, you probably have some announcements? Question? Lori's still muted.
She has no announcements because she's not here.
Oh, she's not here. It's Jonathan's here. Okay, well, thank you.
I'm taking notes for her.
Oh, good. Okay. Do you have any announcements for Lori?
I do not.
Okay. All right. Good to know. Lane, I'm sorry. Did I cut you off on something?
No, I didn't. Just listening.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Okay. I will turn the program over to Richard, who will introduce our speaker from the Red Cross.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. I'm pleased to introduce Becky Firey, who is Executive Director of Red Cross of Orange County. As Executive Director, she oversees the delivery of Red Cross humanitarian service programs across Orange County, including disaster preparedness and response, support for service members, veterans and their families, health and safety training, blood collection, and more. The Red Cross mission is something Becky has always felt passionate about, which is what led her to start her career with the Red Cross 15 years ago in the Donor Resources Development Department for Biomedical Services. She worked as an account manager in San Diego, securing community blood drive partners to meet local hospital needs. For the past 7 years, she served as Biomedical Services District Manager, first in North Orange County, then South Orange County and San Diego. During this time, she played an integral role in the creation of the Aztecs for Life and Celebration of Heroes blood drives, the two largest single-day Red Cross blood drives in California. And Becky received her undergraduate degree in communication from UC San Diego. Becky, it's nice to have you. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my slide. Thank you so much for the introduction and for the opportunity to speak here. And thank you so much for all the Rotary does for our community. Actually, was an Interact Club back when I was in high school, so I'm very familiar with the great work you do. All right. And can everybody see my PowerPoint okay? Thank you. All right. Still getting used to the all virtual environment, so thank you very much. So again, thank you for having me here today. And I recently started in this role in this COVID environment back in April. The previous part of my career was in our biomedical services side, but the Red Cross has always been a big part of my life and was a youth volunteer with the Red Cross. And that's how I really got started with our mission. So I wanted to talk a little bit about our local impact here in Orange County, just to give you an idea of some of the services that we provide, and I'll go into a little bit more depth on each of these areas. But this was for our last fiscal year, and we responded to 102 disasters here in Orange County, assisting 279 families. We installed 1,752 free smoke alarms, making 595 homes safer. We enrolled 31,800 people in Red Cross health and safety training courses. provided over 1,800 services to our military members, veterans, and their families. We collected here in Southern California 115,307 red blood cell units to help our local patients. And we're supported here in Orange County by more than 2,300 local volunteers. So really incredible impact here in our Orange County community. So I got a great question about this right before the call started, but I did want to talk a little bit about our organization, just to be a little more of an overview. So 90% of our organization workforce is volunteer. And we have a 20 out of 20 standards. We've met 20 out of 20 standards for our charitable accountability. And 90 cents of every dollar that's donated to the Red Cross goes towards the care that we provide. So obviously you guys probably are tuned into the news and are aware of everything that's going on right now in our country. This is one of the areas that the people are most familiar with in terms of Red Cross service delivery. So we provide relief after disasters, and what that looks like is providing lodging, meals, financial assistance, getting people the basic needs that they need when a disaster occurs. And a lot of people think that we only respond to these large-scale disasters, but every day home fires occur and small disasters, and we have teams that go out and help support those individuals. So we have somebody that is prepared to take calls 24/7 in the event that there is a disaster and someone needs aid in our community. The alarm. So this is an incredible program that we provide, and we work really closely with the Orange County Fire Authority. And we actually go out into communities and install free smoke alarms to homes that don't have them. It's a really incredible program, and to date, we've saved more than 715 lives where smoke alarms that we've installed have gone off and gotten a family alerted and out. So it's a really incredible program that we provide. It's a bit on hold right now because of what's going on with COVID, and I'll talk in a few minutes about kind of what our adaptations have looked like with COVID, because we're working on trying to continue this program in the environment that we're in right now. So this is the other area that people are probably most familiar with what the Red Cross does, which is blood donations. So we provide about 40% of the nation's blood supply, and we hold blood drives every day in our community. We have several fixed sites here in Orange County where we collect blood. Richard, I understand you're a regular donor, so thank you. And we have our headquarters is in Santa Ana. We have a blood donation center there. We also have a site in Fullerton, in Laguna Hills, and I think that's, and Fountain Valley. Sorry, forgot that last one. So again, this is, it's one of the things that are so impactful to me, and in the role that I've gotten to interact with so many incredible individuals who've been touched by blood donation. Unfortunately, most of us in our lifetime will know somebody who's been impacted by the need for blood, be it a cancer patient who needs platelets while they're going through chemotherapy, a premature baby needing, a trauma patient needing red blood cells. It's really incredible, and we can't meet the needs of our blood supply without amazing volunteer blood donors. So we do deliver 6.5 million blood products to patients in need each year. We also provide training to the community in a number of different areas. So we provide CPR, first aid, AED training that individuals can take. We do babysitting and caregiving, also swimming and water safety instructor. I was fortunate to be able to present an award actually to a high school student down in Laguna Beach last week who used some of his training and actually saved a mother and her son when they got caught in a rip current. So it's incredible to see the work. It's great to be able to honor the individuals who use this training. And our military. So this is another area that a lot of people aren't aware that the Red Cross is involved with. And we provide emergency communications through our Hero Care network. So we work really closely with our military partners. And if, for example, a service member who's deployed has a family member that becomes ill or passes away or has the birth of a child, those family members of the service member can contact our Hero Care network. Again, it's available 24/7 for our military families, and they will get that that communication to that service member wherever they're deployed, and then get them back in touch with the family so that they can make that connection. We also provide services to the military and the community, resiliency workshops. We help them with training and adjusting back to civilian life after being deployed, and also help with briefs as new soldiers deploy, letting them know what resources are available and helping to support them. And we do provide some financial assistance to military members as well. And internationally, so we are one, just like Rotary, we're international, and we're one of 187 Red Cross or Red Crescent societies around the world. And we provide assistance around the world to those impacted by disaster. We have incredible volunteers that do a project called Missing Maps, where they can actually go in and not every country is fortunate like the US to have great mapping on our satellites. So they actually can go in and help emergency responders to put in place where roads are, buildings are. So in the event of a disaster, they can help better navigate and support those communities. We help to vaccinate children against measles and rubella in other countries, and then reconnecting families that are separated by international war and disaster. We have some incredible volunteers here locally who've recently made some reconnections, and it's pretty incredible. An individual can reach out to the Red Cross either here locally or to their Red Cross or Red Crescent Society, wherever they are, and we can get in touch with the Red Cross, the Red Cross or Red Crescent Society in that area, and help to make those connections with families that they've lost. So coronavirus, just as you guys were talking about at the beginning of the call, obviously it's impacted the way that we meet, the way that we connect. It's impacted everything in our world. It has not impacted our ability to meet our mission. It's just looking a little bit different these days. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what we've done to adapt to this COVID environment. So again, you probably are seeing a lot of what's going on in the news with the disasters that are taking place. Our Western wildfires have been just utterly devastating, and our sheltering looks a little bit different. We're still there to support individuals. Right now, we're trying to prioritize hotel rooms as opposed to our large shelters. So if an individual is forced to evacuate from their home and doesn't have anywhere to go, we have temporary evacuation points set up where those individuals can get aid from the Red Cross. And we're trying to prioritize, again, putting those individuals in hotels as opposed to a large space like what you've seen in the past with our disasters. In some cases, we can't avoid that just because of the scale of the disaster, but we're following incredibly strict protocols in order to keep distance between individuals, working with county officials to provide health screenings, and making everybody feel safe while they're being supported. So in addition to that, with our DAT team, our disaster action team that, as I mentioned, is available 24/7 in the event of a disaster or home fire. Usually those individuals go out to the site where, say, somebody has a home fire. And I know it's been hard on that team because, you know, they sit down with that individual in close quarters. A lot of that's having to be done either over the phone or virtually, but we're still providing that care and that service, even if it looks a little bit different. Blood services, I'm not sure if any of you have seen some of the coverage that we've had since this started. I was actually on our blood services team when COVID hit, and it was terrifying because in the first couple of weeks we watched literally 90% of our blood drives be canceled from the calendar because we rely on our community partners, our businesses, our schools, all of these organizations that closed their doors. We weren't able to go to do our normal blood drives. And a lot of individuals were afraid that blood donation isn't something that they could do with our shelter in place orders. But we are an essential service, and we already have very safe protocols for blood donation, but we've enhanced those further to make individuals feel safe in this COVID environment that we have, including temperature screening and every individual that comes into the blood drive. We're trying our best to do larger facilities where we host the blood drives. That way we can keep the blood drive beds spaced out at least 6 feet apart. Everyone's required to wear face masks, including our staff and our volunteers. And we're doing additional wiping down of every surface that any individual comes into contact with to keep our donors safe. So in addition to this, one of the recent things that we've done is every blood donation is actually tested for COVID antibodies. So if you go out to donate blood anywhere from 4 to 7 days after your donation, on our Red Cross app, it'll show you if you have tested, you have COVID antibodies. So we're going to be continuing that through January, again, to hopefully encourage individuals to come out and give. And one of the other big initiatives that we've started in the midst of this COVID environment is the convalescent plasma. So if you're not familiar with that, essentially any individuals who've recovered from COVID-19 have antibodies present that potentially, it's still considered an experimental new drug by the FDA, but they've had anecdotally really positive results from giving those, giving the plasma from these recovered patients to really critically ill COVID patients, because the thought is that those antibodies will help their body. So that's been a very big initiative. You've probably seen some billboards. I've seen 3 down the 57 freeway. They're all over, really encouraging people who've recovered to sign up on our website to give convalescent plasma, because the need is much greater than the product that we're able to collect right now. So there's an emergency need for those products. Service to the Armed Forces, those courses that I mentioned and what we're providing, we've adapted to virtual, so we're providing virtual resiliency workshops to our service members, and we've actually seen an increase in our calls to our Hero Care Center with service members being impacted by COVID, just like many people across our country. International Services team has been supporting initiatives related to the virus around the country. And for our training services team, you can imagine that in-person classes were pretty significantly impacted as a result of what's gone on with COVID. But we worked with our first responders to extend the timeline for when they needed to get their CPR renewed. And we are still doing courses. We're adapting that, where we're allowing individuals to do all of the initial training virtually and then come in for just the skills assessment portion where they actually do the skills. And they're working on a way to actually mail out a mannequin. If any of you have taken CPR first aid training, actually mailing out the mannequin to individuals so that they can do everything virtually. So we are doing our best to adapt to this environment to make sure that we can still provide those services to our community. So Orange County is a part of our Southern California region of the Red Cross. We support Orange, San Bernardino, Riverside, and San Diego counties. I did want to mention, obviously, there's wildfires occurring across the western United States, but I wanted to touch base on what that impact really looks like here locally for us. So in our region, we've been responding to two fires, the El Dorado fire in San Bernardino, as well as the Valley fire. And just to put in perspective what that looks like, through September 14th, we've provided over 3,800 overnight hotel stays to those that are impacted by the wildfires, served over 18,300 meals with partners to those individuals. We're providing them with warm meals 3 times a day, as well as snacks, and made over 2,300 individual care contacts. So we have an amazing team of mental health and healthcare volunteers who follow up with support to individuals, because I didn't mention that earlier, but obviously there's a significant emotional toll that happens if your home is destroyed or you're evacuated from your home. So we want to make sure that individuals are supported with all of their needs. So thank you again for reaching out to have me here, because my presentation is very timely. So September is National Preparedness Month, and it's so important with everything that's going on for our community to be prepared in the event of a disaster. So we want people to be Red Cross ready, make sure that they get a kit. So you can purchase kits from the Red Cross. We also have a checklist on Prepare SoCal or Red Cross SoCal, where you can build your own that you can print out and see what to put in there. We really encourage everybody to make a plan and make sure that they're prepared in the event that something does take place, and be informed. So get CPR and first aid certified. We have an amazing free emergency app on any of your app stores that you can download that you can get information about any disasters that are taking place. And Red Cross is offering free preparedness presentations since it's National Preparedness Month. If you have any interest, I can send this slide deck out later too, or I can put these in the chat for you guys. These are some of our free trainings that are taking place. We also will do free presentations for any organization or individuals, or organizations or groups, sorry. So if, for example, the Rotary wanted to set up a presentation for just your members, that's something that we absolutely could do. So just let me know. Our goal is, again, to make our community safer and better prepared in the event of a disaster. So again, I gave you kind of an overview of the different lines of service that we have. Red Cross means a lot to me, and I think it boils down to this mission statement that we have. We prevent and alleviate human suffering in the face of emergencies by mobilizing the power of volunteers and the generosity of donors. It's a really incredible mission to be a part of, an organization to be a part of. And I want to talk about that power of volunteers for us. So they are invaluable to the daily operation of the Red Cross. I just got an email. We've got over 5,000 Red Cross volunteers right now who are out supporting these disasters across the country. I heard from a colleague up in the Oregon area who gave a unbelievably emotional testimony to what has been going on up there. And we have volunteers who have evacuated their homes and gone to shelters to then support other people, not knowing what's going on with their own homes. So we have the most incredible volunteer workforce to work with. And here in Orange County, they provided 84,893 hours of support for our community. I guess as a side plug too, we have an ongoing need for volunteers. With this COVID change, a lot of our volunteer workforce, particularly those that have helped in the past with supporting shelters or disasters, are in the population that are at risk for COVID. And so a number of them don't feel comfortable going out and being in public in support of these disasters. So we have an ongoing need for volunteers. And particularly with just the scale of disasters that we're seeing this year, we are actively seeking more volunteers to get involved with the Red Cross and our mission. And we have a lot of different volunteer opportunities that individuals can provide on any of those number of services that I touched on. So if you or anyone you know has interest in becoming a volunteer, I have a website down there on the bottom of my slide, and I encourage you to check it out. And the generosity of donors. Just to kind of put it in perspective, you know, a $15 donation to the Red Cross, that installs one smoke alarm. $600 assists one family impacted by a local disaster, such as a home fire, and $5,000 is the average cost of opening a shelter for 150 people in one night. As you can imagine, with the prioritizing of hotel stays, the costs associated with these disaster responses are much greater than they have been in the past. So individuals help support our organization through donation. We also have corporate sponsorships. And we do a really incredible fundraising event that unfortunately we also had to cancel back in May because of everything that's been going on, called our Real Heroes Award Breakfast. And we get the most incredible stories of individuals in our community here who've helped another in a different way in each of our categories. So although we canceled that May event, we've been recording these amazing stories that we've had, and they're going to be featured in our social media channels in a campaign in October. So I encourage you guys to look for those so we can help honor those amazing stories. And our hope is that we'll be able to do something again in person in May of 2021. So we do have a nomination window. So if you know of any individuals who had amazing stories or helped somebody else, I encourage you to nominate them. So for more information about the Red Cross, please feel free to visit redcross.org/SoCal. That's our local Red Cross site. You can find out more information about what we're doing here locally. I also, again, in National Preparedness Month, encourage you to check out Prepare SoCal. There's great resources there on how to better prepare you and your loved ones for an emergency. And also encourage you to follow us on any of our social media pages. And I'll be sure to put my personal contact information too into the chat. That way, if you have any follow-up questions after I open up for questions, you can always reach out to me. So thank you. I know that was a lot of information, but are there any questions that I can help answer?
Yes, I have one. I currently hold 4 certificates from Red Cross, only one of which is, well, they're all current supposedly, but one of them was returning to work during COVID-19. But the other ones are safety training for swim coaches, safety training for swim coaches and water skills, and CPR, responding to emergencies, adult pediatric first aid, CPR, and AED. All those you say are extended for 90 days. Is that right?
So yeah, so especially for the reason that we did that was especially when COVID first hit, for our first responders who are required to have CPR training, we wanted to make they had an extension to get that training in before.
I'm required to have it as a swim coach, so that only puts us into, mine all expire in December or in September, so it only gives me October, November, December. So in December, what are we going to do in December when the 90 days is up?
So they have been doing some of the courses. So Fred, if you don't mind, I'll follow up with our training services team and see if we've got anything that's set up in the future. If you want, like I said, I'll put my contact information here in the chat, or I can get that from Richard, and I'll reach out to you for sure.
Great. All right. Well, thank you very much. And you certainly provided a lot of information, and I really appreciate it. Once again, Richard Rubin has done a fantastic job in getting speakers. Now, I'm sure there's other people that have questions. So,
James?
Yeah, I just wanted to say I actually gave blood during the COVID situation, and I felt super safe through the whole process. So anybody that may have been feeling apprehensive about donating blood with everything going on, I just went to a really big church and they did a really good job. We were in the auditorium section, so the social distancing felt really safe, and I really had no problems at all. So I would recommend, if you have done it before and you weren't doing it now because of COVID, it really wasn't, an issue for me at all. So just FYI.
Thank you, James. Thank you for your donation.
And I'd like to second that also. I'd use the donation center in Santa Ana, and they don't even let you in the door until they're taking your temperature. So place is probably cleaner than any other place that you come in contact with.
Thank you, Richard. Thank you for being a donor as well.
Sure.
well, I went to donate not too long ago in Palm Springs, and they said I was too old.
So there actually is no upper age limit on blood donation. So I'm not sure who you spoke with, but yeah, we have a 94-year-old who gives platelets regularly. So there's no upper age limit that precludes you from donating blood.
Oh, well, that's good to know. Thank you. I'm more than a gallon donor, and I suppose a lot of members are too. And so I heard at one time you're supposed to get free blood for life when you become a gallon donor. Is that a myth, or?
So there's some misconception around that, because years ago there was a credit system back in the 80s for individuals who were blood donors. But what the hospitals found was it was too cumbersome to track for individuals, and they'd rather just make sure that whoever needs blood gets blood in the event of an emergency.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
So I have a question.
Gary?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you spoke about this prior to the meeting starting, and I just wanted to bring it up so that you can address it again. But there's been some, over the past, I want to say 5 or 6 years, there's been some controversy with the Red Cross, and about, twofold. One is whether or not all the funds that are being donated actually get to provide services. And the second one is that Red Cross has about 17 what we call highly compensated executives with an average salary, I'm just looking this up, of $435,000 a year. As a nonprofit, how do you address those two concerns?
Yeah, so, okay, so hang on, going back to your first question. So again, we do have individuals that are employed by the organization, and if you look at comparable salaries for organizations of that size, you know, we do have several executives that are hired, but they're also, you know, they're also making a living as well, and do amazing work and a lot of very important work. And I don't have the stat in front of me right now, so I apologize. But I do believe that Gail McGovern has not taken a salary increase over the last several years of her career. And if you'd like, I can certainly get some more information to follow it back up with you and share with you. But we do have employees that required, but 90% of the 90 cents on the dollar that is provided to Red Cross goes to cause. Like I said, if you want to go to Charity Navigator and check that out, that's something we're very, very proud of as an organization. That's extremely high. The average that they encourage, if you look at different nonprofits or charities that you're looking to donate to, they want that number to be at least at 75 cents on the dollar. So again, we're really high in terms of organizations where the dollars that you're giving to the organization are going to cause. So we want people to feel really comfortable with, you know, knowing that their donation is really helping the community.
Thanks for addressing that.
Helen, you had a question?
No, I had a comment. I just wanted to thank you for the excellent presentation, the scope of that. We have a friend that volunteers up in Santa Rosa, and they're sort of consumed right now with the fire and reaction. But the Red Cross has been just right there hand in hand in supporting people with the fire. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. And thank you to your friend for being a volunteer. We have really, really incredible volunteers.
Thank you, Helen. I think James had his hand up there. James, yes.
Yeah, so you mentioned the preparedness kits that you guys sell for whether it's in-home or whatever it might be. Does a portion of proceeds from the sale of those kits go to the charity as well, or are those just at cost?
I believe that we do make some profit off of that. That helps go back to the cause that we have as an organization. Yeah.
Okay, so I got one more.
Okay.
And you know, this is not that same direction that I was before. So the Red Cross provides these essential services, especially in things like these disasters, that kind of stuff. Is there another organization that provides those similar type of services? I mean, or is Red Cross what we have, and that's all we have? I mean, I know that Red Cross is to scale much larger than any other organization in the world that provides these services. But is there other organizations, and I don't want to call them competitors, but people that also provide services that you might work hand in hand with?
Do you mean specifically just with disasters, or because like on the blood services side, there are other like hospitals that self-collect that do like in our own community, we have some hospitals like Hoag does some of their own self-collections for their hospital. And then we're a supplementary provider.
Specifically the disaster.
From the disaster, okay. So, you know, not that I'm super aware of, but we work with a lot of other organizations and partner with them when a disaster takes place. So like we work closely with the Salvation Army when there's a disaster that occurs. FEMA is obviously someone that we work very closely with when there's a disaster as well. So generally speaking, the Red Cross is the one that is there when the emergency first occurs, but then we also work with all the incredible nonprofits that are in our community to help support the follow-up after that, because we're there to make that immediate, provide that immediate relief for an individual. But if there's their long-term recovery, that's where we would work with and partner with some of these other organizations that are out there.
Okay, do we have any more questions? Surely this inquisitive group has more questions than that for Becky. I don't want to put her on the spot about ask her something embarrassing, but.
So I'll throw a question out there.
Okay.
What's the interaction between the American Red Cross and the other Red Cross organizations around the world?
So I haven't been super involved with our international services, but we do work in partnership with them. So this is a great question that we get a lot, where individuals want to help when there's an international disaster. And like even our amazing Red Cross volunteers want to deploy to help in some of these international disasters. Most of the international organizations are self-contained, but they'll reach out to us if they need additional support. So like the Haiti earthquake was a great example of that, where they reached out. They did not have the manpower to be able to support that response. And so they reached out to other Red Cross and Red Crescent societies to help with the individuals, volunteers and resources.
You mentioned earlier that there was like, I forgot how many disasters in the area, but what is the area that you're talking about? It's not just Orange County.
The ones on that slide that I shared for that very first slide was just Orange County.
Oh, it was?
Yes. So, you know, we count
disaster.
So we count disasters. It doesn't have to be, so it was 102 disasters here in Orange County to 279 families. So we count, if somebody has an individual home fire and their house burns to the ground, we count that as a disaster, because certainly that's devastating for that individual and that family that's impacted.
Okay, thank you. And how many Red Cross facilities are there in the Southern California region? I know that our ham radio group meets Fridays at your Red Cross there on whatever it is, Golden Circle or something like that.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, so we have our chapter office in Orange County. We have a chapter office in San Bernardino. We have a chapter office in Riverside, and then we have a chapter or a headquarters chapter office down in San Diego. We have additional facilities that I mentioned, like our blood donation sites that are scattered throughout the community, but our actual Red Cross headquarters or buildings are in those five chapter locations.
And so Los Angeles is a different area, because I'm sure you have Red Cross facilities there.
We do. They have, I'm not certain. I think they have 5 different chapters that break up Los Angeles. But clearly we work very closely with them especially when there's disasters that cross over, you know, our county lines.
Do you know how many paid employees you have at the Orange County office there?
We have some regional employees and then some individual chapter employees. We have about, I think, 20 of us now. We just had a couple individuals that left. But that's not including our blood services team, I apologize. So the blood services team is a much larger scale that covers all of Southern California. And I think for all of Los Angeles and Orange County, there's about 500 employees on that side.
Good, okay. All right, anybody else have any questions? We've still got a little time left. It's not even 1 o'clock. So I know that you've all received your lunches by now and your drinks. So now that you're well fed, we include lunches and drinks as we email them to everybody. So, you know.
Thank you for that, Fred. I'm enjoying my sandwich.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. I haven't gotten mine yet, but I'll have to call the service again. Anyway, we aim to please. We don't even charge for them. You know, we used to charge for the lunches and all that stuff, but you know, the Zoom meetings are so much less expensive and less inconvenient. No parking problems. You don't have to deal with going out in the heat. It's really nice. All right. Well, I won't prolong it anymore. And if anybody has any questions, speak now or forever hold your peace.
Yeah, I'd like to plug our upcoming events, if that's okay, Fred.
Yes, please.
Okay, so I know you will want to mark your calendar. Gary has been kind enough to put them on our calendar, on the Rotary calendar. Next week, we have District Governor speaking. On Thursday, October 1st, we have a speaker from the Museum of Neon Art in Glendale. If you've never been there, it's a fantastic place. Mark is doing Students of the Quarter on Thursday, October 8th. And presentation by Working Wardrobes on Thursday, October 15th. And on Thursday, November 5th, the Musical Instrument Museum coming in from Phoenix, Arizona will be doing a presentation. So that's what's on the schedule.
Richard, I want to thank you so much for putting this together. I mean, you and all the other volunteers and organization make my job a lot easier.
Well, that's what we're here for.
I don't have to do anything except the meeting. You know, everybody's doing everything else, which is great. I love it.
Can I jump in?
Yes, please.
You hear me? Okay. Hey, Becky, I'm Mark Elliott. I'm the Communications Director for Tustin Unified. And I just want to thank Red Cross for all the help the organization's done for our schools and our community over the years. I've been in the district a long time. Years ago, we had fires in the area, and the Red Cross set up, evacuation centers at our gymnasiums, and we worked really closely with them. And it's a great organization. So I just want to compliment you and everybody with the group. It's really helpful for our parents, our kids, and our community. When disasters hit, we can always count on the Red Cross. So thank you.
Thank you, Mark. We really appreciate your partnership and support. Those evacuation sites and providing locations for shelters are so critical for us in the disaster response. So we really appreciate it. And all the tremendous support the district has had with our blood services site as well. These are an incredible partner, so thank you.
You're welcome. If I can ever help you with anything, you can reach me through Richard.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Yeah, happy to help.
And I did it poorly, so I apologize that it ran together, but my contact information there is in the chat too. If any of you have questions after this and want to follow up, I can provide you with more information.
I'm going to call you about the certificates.
Perfect.
Excellent.
And I'll reach out to our training services team as soon as we get off this for you.
Thank you. It was an excellent presentation too. You did a great job.
Thank you, Becky.
Thank you.
Okay, well, with that, I will close the meeting and thank everybody, in particular Gary and Richard. Gary sets these things up and Richard brings the speakers in, and I'm so excited that we've got a great program here. And thank you, Becky, for your presentation. It was wonderful, and I think everybody supports the Red Cross, and certainly we've probably all given blood and perhaps given money to the Red Cross, and we appreciate the Red Cross. So thank you very much, and I will end the meeting. Thank you all for coming. See you next week. Same bat time, same bat station.
Thanks, Fred.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.